Well, welcome back. We'll have a question from this lady who has been putting her hand up for the past 1 hour. Yes.
Hi, I'm
Nicole.
Okay, this question is directed at Dr. Tony Tan. I'm just wondering, because when you were speaking just now, and as I have read in the papers in the past few weeks, when you were speaking just now, it just came across totally like someone from the cabinet. So I'm just wondering, you know, having been in the cabinet for so long and being so close to the cabinet even after you stepped down, why should we elect a president who has almost exactly the same voice as someone we would hear from the cabinet? I mean, convince us. Would it be the second key or would it be the same key?
Well, I've not always agreed with my cabinet colleagues. For example, on the graduate mother scheme, when I became Minister of Education, I decided to review it. I thought it was wrong and persuaded the cabinet colleagues to change the decision. But I do not believe in making contradictory statements for the sake of making contradictory, just to show that I'm independent. I think what is most important is to have an independent mind, to exercise your mind under the circumstances on each situation, act independently, which I will do as president, whether it's with the reserves or with other decisions. Apply your own mind. And I think that over the years, people have always regarded me, even when I was in cabinet, as an independent voice. And I'll do the same if I'm elected as president.
Right, thank you. Yes.
Hi, my name is Bhavan. I'm a journalism student from NTU. My question is for all 4 presidential candidates, and it's about the Council of Presidential Advisors. As we know, the president does not act independently in his key blocking powers in approving the drawdown of past reserves and the approval of key appointments. He acts, instead decisions are made in committee with the CPA. If the CPA disagrees with the president on his veto, the matter is brought to Parliament. So that's quite substantial powers in the hands of the CPA, who are not elected. What are your views on the independence of the current CPA, and what kind of people would you like to see in the CPA?
Good. Dr. Tan Ching Bok.
I think the CPA, as you know, consists of 6 people, 2 nominated by the Prime Minister, 1 by PSC. I'm sorry if I got it wrong. And the other one,
Chief Justice.
And the Chief Justice. And as President, I have the privilege of appointing 2.
Including the chairman.
Including the chairman. I think, and my appointment has to be really very careful, because I want to make sure that the person I appoint should actually have no links whatsoever with the government and also with government-linked companies, so that he stands independent. And that is to me, it's very important. I know it's very difficult to search for somebody. I've approached many, and every time I approach them, oh, he's got linked with some government-linked companies, and that would make things very difficult. Then the other one, of course, I would prefer somebody who's also very independent, very good in the legal matters, because of a lot of matters pertaining to the Constitution. But I think that the role of the Advisory Council is really important, because as you know, he has, if the Advisory Council and advises the President on some of the matters that is brought before him. And we normally agree with what the Advisory Council will have to advise us.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
You see?
Yeah, I think the way this is the Constitution that has been written, and that is what is provided under the Constitution. So we live with it. Obviously, I would believe that a president that is properly elected should have a voice vis-a-vis the government and should not be counteracted by a council of advisors who are not elected. So it's an extra mechanism, and I do not know, I really do not understand or appreciate the reasoning behind it. You have a president elected, again, vis-a-vis the government of the day, and yet you have another extra body. It's something that I'm really puzzled with. But obviously, there could be a situation where the president is not so well versed on certain specialist matters like reserves, financial matters, or on matters of law, or on other specialized, where this council of wise men could advise the president. And I think that is something that, that is necessary. But having said that, I think that the council of advisors may have had too much power to counteract the president of the day, who has been directly elected by the people. But that is my personal view. The constitution at least is there. You have to accept it.
Thank you.
I would find the best people we have in Singapore to serve on the Council of Presidential Advisors. The CPA is a very important body. You cannot expect the president to know everything or to be an expert on law, accounting, finance, economics, social science. The Council of Presidential Advisors is an advisory body set up to advise the president. It should comprise the best people we can find in all the fields. And I think whoever is president would be very foolish if they disregard the advice of the CPA. I think this is a very dangerous trend. If you get the right people as members of the CPA, it is an extremely valuable resource which the president can draw on, and I believe that is for the good of Singapore.
Thank you.
My view is different from Dr. Tony Tan. The president is elected by the people. Yes, he can have advice from the relevant expert, but the president should make the final decision. That's what advisors are. Our constitution now says the council can override the president. It is quite difficult. So I would prefer a change to the constitution, but until there's such a change, I will live by the constitution, and I will then impress upon the council on the values of being honest, fair, and courage. That means these are people that should make their decision impartially and fairly.
Thank you. Next question, this side. Yes, please. Anna.
We've heard from all four that your first.
Sorry, introduce yourself.
Sorry,
please.
my name is Alex Au, Yawning Bread. We've heard from all four candidates that your first stop, obviously, rather than go public, would be to have a private word with the cabinet should you disagree in any significant way. Well, it's great, and that's fair enough. But I think for voters, I think they need to have a sense that when you are having a private word with the government, what direction in terms of your views might be expressed. In other words, what would be your guiding philosophy on a personal basis? And since my particular interest is in the area of civil and political liberties and human rights, which means freedoms and equality, I would really just ask for a very short answer, yes, no, on three simple things. Number one, the proposal that you would perhaps advise the government to move the Elections Commission from under the Prime Minister's office to a truly independent Elections Commission, perhaps supervised by the President himself. Yes, no.
Okay, let's take it one at a time.
Oh, no, very quickly.
No, let's take your
one more.
Okay.
To a lot of people, Section 377A violates the principle of equality. Should this matter arise again in the near future, and you have a word with the Prime Minister, what do you think your own stand would be on Section 377A?
I guess we're all familiar with Section 377A, right?
I am not.
You're not. You want to elaborate?
That would be the law that makes gay men criminals, effectively, for having gay sex.
Right. Okay, could we start with Dr. Tan?
My guiding principle is very simple. I will do what I think is in the best interest of Singapore. And with regard to where the Election Commission should be, or with regard to Section 377A, I think that these would be matters which obviously government will be involved, Parliament will be involved, the President may have a view which he should express to the Prime Minister.
But I guess the question is, what is your view?
What is my view with regard to
At this point in time.
at this point of time?
Yeah.
Do you understand?
My view with regard to this is that I think that these are issues which do not have clear black and white answers. I think we should look into it. 377A has been discussed in Parliament, and I think that this has been brought up many times. Obviously, if it's a simple black and white answer, this would have been resolved long ago. And I don't think that it is right for us to make simple black and white answers to what could be complex situations.
On the issue of the Election Commission?
On the elections, the Commission, I would say that we want elections to be free and fair. I think that is the basic principle which we have to work under, and we want the best arrangements for that.
Thank you.
Right?
Well, I'll give you a clear answer. Answer is yes, move out of the PMO into the presidential to an independent commission. Number 2 is no. All right? Just to get...
On 377A?
No, I would have no discrimination.
Ah.
No discrimination.
Disagree with the law, in other words.
I'm not a lawyer. But I need to consult a lawyer on the intricacy, but I said no discrimination.
Good.
For me, yes, I think we should move to an independent body for this election. As for the other question, the 3.3a, I think as a doctor, I've seen patients of mine also with this type of lifestyle. It's his lifestyle choice. So I have no difficulty in accepting this lifestyle choice.
Good. Thank you.
Now, I will move the election commission to outside the Prime Minister's office to be managed independently, and I will respect the right of people to have their choice of their life, so long as it doesn't cause any harm to the general society.
Thank you.
It's a sensitive subject. It's almost a taboo subject. Almost 25 years have passed since the Marxist arrest. Just a yes or no question, right? Do you, in light of the evidence you have today, believe that there was a Marxist conspiracy in 1987? Second question, on the 25th anniversary of the Marxist arrest in May next year, do you, if you're elected, or will you, if you're elected as president, take any steps to influence or lobby the government to review what happened in 1987 with a view to clearing the names of those who were alleged to be part of that conspiracy?
You're
Just
seeking,
a yes or no
you're
question.
seeking a quick response to
Absolutely.
both questions. Right.
Can I throw back a question at you?
Not right now, but could we just respond to that, after which we can throw back question?
No, because I want to know what evidence you're talking about now.
His question is in the light of the changed circumstances today, with a lot more information available, if there's no further evidence you have from 1987, then base it on whatever latest evidence you have.
I honestly remember that I was involved as a feedback chief, and I based my judgment on that period, and I agreed with that decision.
And the second question?
Next year,
Next year,
will you take any steps to...
if you're the president.
I want to see the new evidence first.
Okay.
I must declare first that it took place when I was still in government. And it was 1987, I was PPS to Mr. Goh Chok Tong, who was handling the issue. But I must say that I was not in the picture at all. It was out of my hands. It did not come through me. So I know nothing about it or any of the evidence. Obviously, as a PPS, I am required to write certain letters on his behalf, and someone has already highlighted that I've signed a letter. But it was in my capacity as a civil servant. I have no part to play in it. All right?
Okay,
I have
the
no
second question,
evidence or whatever in it. So
if you're elected president next
if
year.
look, since there's so much controversy, I would like to seek a closure to the matter. 25 years have passed. I would like to seek a closure. I think Mr. Goh Chok Tong at that time promised a commission of inquiry. I want to know what has happened to that. Is he interested in reviewing it? If he is not, why not?
Right, thank you. Dr. Tan.
My answer is very short. I was a member of the cabinet in 87 and 89 when the decision was taken. I subscribed to the principle of collective responsibility of the cabinet. Whatever be the discussions within cabinet, once the decision is made, it is a responsibility of the whole cabinet to abide by that decision and take responsibility for it. With regard to what I would do in next May with regard to this issue, it depends on what new information or new evidence that is made available, and I'll consider it in the circumstances of the case at that time.
Thank you.
In 1985, I was not as closely connected as other people here. As a member of the public reading the facts presented in the newspaper, I was quite cynical. Then subsequently, I spoke to a few of these detainees, and they told me, and I felt that they might have been wrongly detained. However, I have not seen the evidence from the government side, the prosecutor side, so my own position now is I must see the other side before I can form an opinion whether they were wrongly detained or not. Now, as to next year, what I would do, I think it's necessary for people who were wrong to be put into, to have it rectified. I don't know whether this can be done through a new inquiry or could be done through some other appropriate ways.
Right, thank you. Yes, please.
Hi, this question is to Dr. Tony
Your
Tan.
name, introduce yourself.
I'm Chu Tseng Si. I'm a legal trainee and a co-founder of TOC. This is to follow up on the graduate mother scheme disagreement you had with the government. In 1985, you rolled back the policy. My question is, did you roll it back because of the backlash from the 1984 elections, or did you roll it back as a matter of principle because it was elitist and unfair? If the second, as a member of cabinet before that, why did you feel the need to introduce such a scheme? And what subsequently changed your views?
When the scheme was introduced, I was not the Minister for Education. When I became Minister of Education, I reviewed the scheme. I thought it was unfair. I thought it was not working. And I thought that it should be reversed. I convinced my cabinet colleagues to reverse it.
Why did you think it was unfair?
You cannot pass judgment on children because of the circumstances of their parents. We can't choose our parents. So why should children be penalized, suffer the disadvantage because of the educational qualifications of the parents? I think that's very unfair.
But sir, you were a member of cabinet when it was passed, and by the principle of collective responsibility, you discussed that in cabinet. So why did it go through?
Because cabinet as a whole discussed it thoroughly and decided that it should be approved. When I became minister, I reviewed the whole matter again and brought it back to cabinet.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Yes, Chair.
Dr. Tony Tan. Oh, sorry. Cherry and George.
Yes.
You've made it clear that you feel, I suppose, that the presidential race is being overburdened by unrealistic expectations. Can I ask why, in your mind, is this the case? Is it just that citizens are being misguided or irrational, or do they have a genuine need to express their grievance that for some reason they're not finding an outlet for? And if it is the latter, what is the outlet that they should be seeking to express their grievances that they're wrongly expecting the president to serve? Is there something wrong with the political system that is preventing them from finding what in your mind would be more rational, more democratic ways to express those grievances?
That's a very large question. I mean, I cannot answer that question in 2 minutes. But what I can say is, I think that the May general elections was a watershed in Singapore politics. I've described it as a win-win-win election. It's a win for the government because they got a mandate with 81 of 87 seats. It's a win for the opposition, particularly the Workers' Party, because they have 6 seats in Parliament now. But more important, it's a win for Singapore because it's a step in the development of our political democracy in Singapore. It's a new normal, as I've said, in politics in Singapore. I don't believe we'll go back again to the old situation when you have one dominant party with a minuscule opposition now. What you'll have from now on is a strong government with a vigorous opposition in Parliament which will debate policies, put alternatives, eventually try to gain power. And I think that's a good thing. It's a further step in the development of our democracy in Singapore. And that will, I hope, when the new Parliament meets, the members of Parliament will show that they will be able to articulate the views of the people, and that will be the test of whether they can gain more support in the coming years.
Sorry, was that your question?
Not quite.
No, is there any part of the question that you felt?
Certainly Parliament would be one such avenue. I'm wondering if there are other avenues that you think would relieve the pressure on the presidency as you see it. Let me throw out one possibility, the idea of an ombudsman that was in fact mooted at the founding of our republic. I can think of at least 3 individuals here that would make ideal ombudsmen because they have the passion to hold the government to account. Would that be something that you would favor?
I would favor more debate in Singapore. I mean, I've started a Facebook page to facilitate this debate. I think the online citizen is one avenue for people to voice their views. I think there's a vigorous
what about the
discussion going on in internet now? With regard to the ombudsman, I think this has been discussed previously. I would certainly think it's something which the government should look at because it's something which is available, I believe, in many other countries as a means for citizens to right their wrongs. And although I think the government has not agreed to it yet, the government has to review its position from time to time. And if there's a need, I think that might be a good idea, but it has to be examined.
Right. Thank you. This side, can we not let the others off the hook so easily, please? Yes.
Hi, I'm Priscilla, and I'm part of Second Chances campaign, and I would like to hear from all 4. So the Court of Appeal has ruled that the presidential clemency are technically under the purview of the cabinet. So in your opinion, do you feel that the elected president should or should not have the sole discretion in exercising clemency powers, and why?
Okay.
May I answer that?
Yes, please.
Now, I have already spoken on this matter. I would prefer the constitution change to give the president the full power of clemency. If not, then to change the other way around. If it is the Prime Minister cabinet to have that power, let the Prime Minister sign the death sentence.
Okay. Dr. Tan?
I think the present Constitution is very clear. The President, and in these cases on clemency, has to act on the advice of the Cabinet. I mean, that's absolutely clear. There is no doubt about it. As to whether the Constitution should be changed in order to vary that status, I think that's a matter for Parliament to decide.
Sorry, I'd like to ask your opinion whether you think the President should or should not.
I think we have to respect the prerogative of Parliament. It is not my opinion, it is not the President's opinion which will prevail, but the views of our 87 members of Parliament who are voted by the people in order to decide on legislation in Singapore, including the Constitution and the powers and prerogatives of the President.
Dr. Tan, I think what the question is asking is, all these aside, what is your opinion on this matter? Do you feel that the President should have more discretion?
I would say this, that I believe that we have Parliament. I think in certain circumstances, I'm sure the Parliament will discuss this fully. We have to show that any new system that comes in must be workable and I think more in tune with the needs of the circumstances of the time.
Thank you.
Well, I believe that the Constitution as it is doesn't allow the President to grant clemency. Well, if we cannot, I would prefer that this be debated vigorously again. I would like to open a debate. I mean, if the President is to be a center of moral power, to have some moral power, he should, if he feels strongly about it, about this matter, he should reopen the debate. When was it the last time that this debate has occurred? So has times changed? So if I'm a president, I feel passionately about this subject too, especially in the light of what Mr. Kader has gone through. True, he was sentenced to death, but after 6 years, they found that he was wrongly sentenced to death. So we have to avoid this sort of things. How are we sure that human investigation is beyond doubt, is 100% true? So if you want to take a life of somebody, you must be absolutely sure. So I want to have a full debate that whichever MP in Parliament says yes to that sentence, let him say it, let him sign it, and let it be on record, on Hansard, that he did say so. I do not want to end up like the casino debate. You say yes, and then later you cry. No way.
Thank you.
Well, under the present Constitution, definitely the President cannot do anything. But also I bear in mind about the seriousness of some of the crimes here. I've got to take into account whether if we do away with the death penalty, for example, all those people, all the murderers, all the drug addicts and all that, all these people, I don't know whether the clemency for these people is really justified or not, because I got to think of the general population, you know, and that is a very important consideration. If we just do away with the death penalty, I want to know really what impact is going to go. I think the Parliament is being elected by also the people of Singapore. They make all the executive decisions, and we have to also respect them because they were elected by the people. So I'm still for this the death penalty because of all these factors I've said.
Right. Thank you. Yes. Sorry. The gentleman behind first.
My name is Koh Seng Chun. I created Dignity Kitchen. Dignity Kitchen is actually a food court training center for disabled and disadvantaged. I take them all in, I train them for 6 to 8 weeks, and I get them jobs. Yeah. Every day, I go around Singapore and go for the people who live on $200, $300, the needy, and bring them. Every day, I got 40, 80, 100 of them. Today, I got 140. Now, Dignity Kitchen is very creative and innovative. It cost me $200,000 and remortgage my office to do this. I like my president to be creative and innovative. So PMD was saying about active citizenry. So just a very short one simple idea on how to promote active citizenry for my president, please.
Okay.
I agree
Dr.
with you.
Tan
Yes, I agree with you.
Soccer.
No, it's soccer. No, but I think he has done a very good job, you know. Yeah. And as a president, I really champion this type of causes.
But is there a particular cause? Is there a specific cause?
No, it's okay. It's your idea. It's your idea. Basically, a worthwhile idea to consider. And I will really champion any cause that I feel that, like active citizen like you, they will benefit and set good examples for other Singaporeans to follow. Keep it up. Rejected? Yes. Then I will lobby for you then. But not openly, okay?
One idea.
Well, the one idea I had was to create creative industries, to give money to young people to start off creative industries, give them a grant startup, you know. We may find gems here, Google, the future Microsoft. And I think we have the money, we have the reserves, the money, and we have the extra surplus to encourage the young to be innovative. Because if we believe our words, if the minister believe their words, that innovation is the drive of the economy of the future, then we do something about it. And it is something very worth doing for our young, to encourage our young. We must use money to invest in our young, our own people, rather than use money to invest in other people's future, like in Citibank, Barclays Bank, Bank of America. What is the point of these hard savings? And then you use them to invest in other people's future for the next 30 years, and you don't expect a return for these 30 years. You only see the return after 30 years.
Okay.
Invest them now here.
From the
okay.
Answer. Thank you.
Right.
Yes.
One idea? One idea. Right. A very simple one. Give our people, particularly young people, the opportunity to fail. That failure is not the end of the word. Failure is a step to a second chance. I think that if you can remove this phobia that you must never fail at all, then I think you've done a great deal. Because if you don't fail, you'll never achieve anything. And I've been involved in promoting entrepreneurship in Singapore for many years. This is a psychological barrier to our young people that our society is such that any failure is a disaster, whether it's in school, whether it's in work, whether it's in business. That's the end of the road, and that's not the case. In Silicon Valley, failure is a badge of enterprise. If you haven't failed, you are not enterprising. You must fail before you can succeed. And my one idea is give our young people the opportunity to fail and yet to rise up. When I was in NSTB, we had what we call the Phoenix Award. You know, the phoenix is the mythical bird which rose from the ashes of a fire. And we gave that award to people who have failed and then succeeded. And in fact, I think there is a company here called Second Chance, which was started by an entrepreneur which failed once and is now very successful. And I think that's a wonderful example.
Thank you.
Now you want one simple idea how to have something innovative. And I want to be the voice of the people, and I need to form a president's personal council comprising of many people who can help to look at these issues. So join my council.
Good, thank you. We have time for 2 questions before we go for the free flow. Right? Yes, please.
Eugene Tan.
And your IC number is?
From SMU. I'm concerned that this particular presidential elections have not enlightened Singaporeans. That I think Singaporeans are perhaps a lot more confused about what the role of the elected president is. I mean, I think the questions from the floor suggest that many people have the expectation that the president can be a one-man political party, so going into policies and all. I think here we are faced with this situation of competing as well as conflicting visions of the president, right? And I just want to, ask the candidates, how they are trying to avoid this situation of over-promising. And in particular, right, my other question really is for Mr. Tan Jee and Mr. Tan Kin Lian. So I'm taking the moderator's challenge, right? Both of you talk about being independent, but you have framed independence in a very narrow way, independence from the PAP, right? But both of you have connections with political parties, right? Mr. Tan Jee, you competed as an opposition candidate. Mr. Tan, you were a cadre of the PAP. You also spoke at the opposition rallies at the last general elections. So, what do you mean by independence? Does independence mean that you got to be independent only of the PAP, and that, I mean, in the oath of office that you take, you talk about being free from any political affiliation.
All right.
So, thank you.
GC?
Yeah, well, you have to interpret independence in the context of the political setup here. Independence of what? Independent of the ruling party. Who forms the ruling party? And that is the PAP.
So you do the bidding of the opposition?
No, I'm saying it's for something that you are prepared to provide checks and balances on the government of the day. Checks and balances, I mean not only opposition has different ideas about the ruling party. Within the PAP, if we believe some minister, there is no group thing, so they have got different ideas too within the PAP. So opposite ideas, ideas that are different from the ruling party are not the monopoly of the opposition. Even within the PAP, there's diversity of views. And we are seeing this in this presidential election, that you see within the PAP, there is now a diversity of opinion.
Right, thank you.
Okay.
Now, on the question of independence, I use the word, I'm neutral, I'm non-partisan. Now, what I mean is the political parties have got their policies, the PAP's policies and the opposition parties' policies. I've never been involved in policies, even though I was an active cadre member for 10 years. I was more in the grassroots, and subsequently I was inactive. So therefore, I'm independent of party policies. But more importantly, I want to say, let's not look at any decision as to whether it's party, the PAP or the non-PAP. Let's look at problems to say, are these problems involving the people of Singapore? Doesn't matter whether who voice it. So I want to have an approach to say, let's look at problems on a non-partisan way. And let's look at, have an open mind, what is the best way to handle this problem. Now, on the question of over-promising, I want to be optimistic that what I say can be done. It might require work. It might require some negotiation with the government, but I want to approach it in a constructive way. If we have problems, I want to raise it, and I want to work with the Prime Minister, and he has promised also to be constructive. And so I hope that this is the approach that we can take to solve our problems.
Thank you. We have time for one final question. Yes, please.
Could I just pick one short reply to Eugene's point about over-promising, right? That was the first point you made. I'll give you a one-line answer. Candidates must run for the office that exists, not for the office which they wish to have.
Okay. Hi, my name is Shanta. My question is, well, as it is prescribed, it seems that the President takes advice only from the Cabinet. If there are issues to be raised, things to be discussed, they are done in private. And there is not always going to be disclosure when it comes to the actions of the President or the decisions that he makes. So isn't there a contradiction then in having an elected President who is elected by the people if the people will not actually be able to see very much of what he does?
Okay. Dr. Tan, you want to take this?
The reason why we have an elected president and not an appointed president is because of the president's custodial powers. It's very clear. The president has authority to guard the reserves of the country. The president protects the integrity of the public service. In those two areas, broad areas, he can act independently of the government, and that's why by being elected by the people, he has the moral authority to be able to carry out his decisions. That is the reason why we elect the president and we don't appoint the president.
Okay.
Now, within the limitations and constraints, I believe we can communicate to the people what the president does without causing controversy and without causing difficulties. So it's a matter of just communicating. We look at some of these issues. We need time to find new solutions. And I think people would like to know that their concerns are taken note of.
Thank you.
When actually I am in favor of private discussion with the Prime Minister, with the government of the day, before it goes public. That is what I'm in favor of. But after having discussed it, I make my views heard, and if the government of the day makes appropriate changes, I'm happy with it, I would move on. I will not pursue further. The government doesn't have to agree 100% with my views. I don't expect that. Even 50% would be okay, it's a pass mark. And in fact, If I aim for an A1, 75% is okay. I don't need government to agree with me 100%. I only ask for 50% agreement. And if things are done, if there is no point, there's no controversy, I keep quiet. I mean, if the interests of the country is served, there's no point in opening up, all right? So, but on matters of conscience, where I really feel very badly, passionately about, it could be anything, the death sentence, the casinos. I think we are mature adults, we are a mature society. What's the problem of bringing it out for debate? We have no personal agenda to pursue. It is all for the good of the country. Let that be an adult contest of ideas. We are not going to say, okay, you go to jail if you don't agree with me, or I sack you if you don't agree with me. Let's have a proper debate, mature debate, contest of ideas between President and Prime Minister on matters of conscience, absolute conscience. And I think the country, the society will be better for it.
Okay, thank you.
I always consider the veto powers are very strong weapons. And you've got to trust the president. And if you really examine all the budgets before him and all the financial transactions, he has to really put his mind and his soul into this for the interest of the Singaporean. I consider veto powers very, very important. And I will really maximize the use of this veto power. So any, like your budget that's coming before us, or any transactions, I have to look into the processes, the procedures very, very carefully. So I think you've got to trust us, trust the president, that he uses his veto power fairly, without fear or favor.
But trust must be based on something.
Yes, trust, I think you've got to look at and see you trust us or not. And the only way, I'm not going to take your trust for granted. I want you to see me. You've got to look, for example, at my past records and see whether I'm a trustworthy person or not. If you think we're not trustworthy, don't vote us.
Okay, on that note, we'll go for the next 15 minutes of free-flow discussion. The discussion in the next 15 minutes will be focused primarily on a debate of viewpoints, ideas, rebuttals among the four panelists, right? And any questions from the floor must be relevant to the ongoing issue, right? Okay, now as promised, we'll go back to the issue that I had to forcibly stop earlier on, right? Now, Mr. Tanji say you had made the suggestion, or you had said that, that the ISA has been used against the government's political opponents. Was that what you said?
Well, what I said was the record shows that those detained have had views contrary to the government.
Okay.
All right?
And
that's
Dr.
a general
Tan,
statement.
you had an alternate viewpoint.
I've made my point. I don't think I have anything more to add.
Okay. So we don't have, all right. Okay, I promised, I delivered. Okay, let's now move on. Okay. Are there any issues that any one of the four candidates would like to bring up pertaining to points raised by the other candidates? Anything at all that you disagree with?
I want to ask Dr. Tan Cheng Bock about your views on the president voicing the concerns of the people, being the voice of the people. I ask because at the start you have got the goal of unifying the people, and then later I saw in your Facebook reference to that you want to be the voice of the people, which was my platform. And then later on in the round table, you say the president shouldn't do that. So I want to ask, where do you stand?
I never steal your idea. I think as a president, you have to be truthful with what you want to do. I'm not saying that I took your voice of the people. But yeah, also when we talk of all those issues like your safeguarding of your reserves, you have to speak out for the people if the reserves are being dipped into. This is what I mean when we say when I say the voice of the people. And if, for example, as I said, all right, if I find that there's some wrongdoing in the cabinet or a rogue cabinet, I think it's my duty to warn. And it's also my duty to encourage all the social programs that we have in mind for Singaporeans. So these are, you're actually voicing out. It's whether you call it voice or you call it whatever. I think these are issues that the president must champion. So it's just championing issues, and it doesn't matter if you want to call it voice or whatever. I think that's a responsibility. That is all the inherent roles of the president, maybe not so well discussed. But I want to be consulted, for example. I want to report wrongdoings. I want to send out warnings, okay? And I want to emphasize on all those social programs that I think is useful for Singaporeans. These are all voicing out for the people.
Let me follow up just to clarify.
Sure. It's free flow.
Now, you said if you see something wrong and you want to voice it out. Now, of course, the cabinet would probably think that they are doing the right thing, and you, as the president alone, think it is wrong. So, right or wrong, sometimes a matter of perception. And what makes you think that you have the ability to judge that somebody is wrong?
No, I think you have to see, let's say an issue, right? You got some issues like say your graduate mother policies we're all talking about. And I think it is a wrong decision. I will just tell the cabinet that I'll send out a warning to the cabinet that this is a very serious decision that will have a lot of implications on Singaporeans, and this is my warning. And I want it. I can just tell the openly about this issue.
Yes. Is it relevant to this discussion? Okay. Yeah.
Can the four candidates detail to us in concrete, unambiguous terms how you intend to keep in touch with the concerns of the ordinary citizens in Singapore when you are elected president, after you have been elected?
Okay, very quick responses, you say.
Well, I think you cannot go, we do walkabout nowadays, but it will be a different kind of walkabout. I suppose you will have to go through civic organizations, various organizations to listen to people as well, direct, in addition to the feedback that we get from MPs and government ministers. I mean, that's the kind of thing.
Okay. Dr. Tan?
Yeah, but...
No, he's finished.
Finished?
Yes.
Okay. The answer is a very simple one. You have to reach out to Singaporeans of all classes, groups, societies. That's what I've been doing, certainly over the years, and much more intensive over the last 3 months. People in hawker centers, markets, chambers of commerce, trade unionists. Listen to them. That's all that you have to do. Then you'll know what are their concerns, what are their worries. And if I can say just one thing, the top worry of everybody I've met over the last 4 or 5 weeks is still the economy. Is a bread and butter issue. Will they have a job? What will happen if the global economy strikes them? How will government help them? These are the real issues of life.
Thank you.
I will use the social media, the blogs, the Facebook, surveys, and I've been doing that for the last 4 years. They've been very helpful in getting a sense of what people are their concerns. And I said I'm going to form a council, right, with a large numbers of people to keep in touch. And I think that channel is the most effective because you get large numbers of people coming in. And I want to have a process to sieve out the important ones, the urgent ones, and then the process to identify which are the most important.
Thank you.
Your question is what I would do as a president, right?
Yep.
Currently, I mean, those things that we're doing, like MPs, you can go around doing all this. But as a president, I got my restrictions. I'm housed in Istana. For me, I just use it as not cage. I refuse the word cage. Anyway, it's just an extension of what I'm doing outside. There's no reason why I can't invite people for tea sessions. If maybe some social groups that I read in the papers, they got little problems here and there. I think I should reach out to them by this way. You know, I wouldn't say meet the president's session, but at least if you really are interested, you should be reading and your people should be telling you, and as a president, I think you maybe want to engage these people. I'm always happy to invite them because I think this is part of the extension of the role of the president, to fully understand the people so that when he becomes that figure that is recognized by the society, he'll be some sort of a unifying figure for Singaporeans. And I think that's very important because the president is a symbol of the state.
Okay, I'm going to use my prerogative as a moderator to ask one question of each of the 4 panelists. And I'm going to allow for very quick counterpoints from the other panelists. Let me start with you, Dr. Tan. You had resigned as chairman of Jurong General Hospital because of a protest against a particular policy regarding the naming of the hospital. So, and you had said that you had done that because you felt that it was not conscionable for you to continue because of such fundamental disagreement.
Yes, right.
Now, if there should be a similar fundamental disagreement with the government when you're president, would you consider resigning?
It's a very serious one. I'll resign.
And that would be a very strong statement.
Yes.
Any comments from the rest? Good, thank you. Let me ask Mr. Tan Kin Lian. What was your purpose in making it public, your intention to not take the full presidential salary?
Now,
you could have done that on the quiet. Some argue that you did that to be popular.
Well, I have got 5 values, and the 5th value is public service. And I believe that the president's salary is very high and it's not consistent with public service. So I articulated it, and I hope that other presidential candidates will also consider, and I hope the government ministers will also consider, because I think that one of the problems of Singapore is that very wide gap. And I hope that we should narrow the gap, and our political leaders should set the example.
Any comments? No, any comments from the panelists first? I also have to address criticism by people. Mr. Tan, are you in the race for the salary? And I want to address that as well. There are people who ask this question, and I say no. First, any comments from the panel?
I've given on the reply already. I think everybody knows about.
Well, I did.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Okay, Karen, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, you go.
No, I think.
I thought he was looking at me, so.
I suddenly developed a
I didn't know I was invisible.
Okay. No, because when he asked us whether we would take a pay cut, I was very clear. I told him that there's a difference between a pay cut and a charity. Charity begins from the heart, right? You have charity, but you ask me to take a pay cut and then give it to charity, I think that's wrong. To me, that's compromising a principle.
Okay, do you say?
Well, I believe I was asked that question by the reporter, so I have to answer. And I did say that I think it's public service, and I think, I'll donate the bulk of the salary away. I'm not in this for the money, and I'm on record, I will donate the bulk of the salary away. And I'm not trying to buy votes because I don't announce it, I was just asked.
Okay. Dr. Tan, is there anything you'd like to add? No. All right. Mr. Tan, you say I have a question for you.
Okay.
You had said, and I quote you, you had said, my approach is always to speak privately and confidentially with the Prime Minister, but on fundamental issues of conscience, I reserve the right to speak up, to the public, that is, right? Now, what would be some of these matters of conscience that you would speak up on? And a follow-up question to that is, what if you're deemed to be going completely contrary to what is provided for in the Constitution as president? What do you think could happen to you when you take that course of action?
Okay, I would only go public after I have discussed with the Prime Minister. It will not be a surprise to him. Okay. It will not be a surprise to him. And Yeah, he won't, the Prime Minister won't wake up one day and read in the Straits Times or on TOC that the President has said this thing.
So in other words,
to
if
his
the Prime
horror.
Minister, in other words, if the Prime Minister tells you, no, he's not comfortable with you going out public on a matter of deep conscience, you would not act?
No, I would reserve the right to act.
So
after I've discussed with him, I would say we are mature adults. Why should we don't have personal agenda? Why do we go public on this matter? It's a matter of public conscience. After all, the Prime Minister allows his own ministers and MPs to speak in Parliament on casino. Why shouldn't he allow the President to speak on casino as well and have a debate on casino?
What do you think would happen to you as a President if you're deemed to have taken a particular line that goes completely contrary to a very fundamental government policy?
What happened to those MPs and ministers who spoke out against the government on casino issue? Nothing, right? They have behaved like adults. Nothing serious has happened to them.
But we're not talking about the MP, we're talking about the President.
Yeah, the President, well, I have the speaking right as an ordinary citizen as well.
Actually,
to make my
according
views
to the Constitution, no, you have less rights than an ordinary citizen.
That's according to the Law Minister, not according to the Constitution.
Any other views on this matter from the other panelists? No? My final question is for Dr. Tony Tan. Dr. Tony Tan, there's been quite a few endorsements that you got from unions. The government has said quite clearly through the Prime Minister that this time round they would like the people to make their decisions on their own. And the NTUC as an apex organization has also said something similar. But quite a few people are quite puzzled by the number of unions and other organizations that are stepping forward to endorse. Could you explain to us what is the reason and maybe the symbolism behind these endorsements? Is it likely to translate to all the members of these unions being obliged to vote for you if the union endorses you? What happens if individual members of the union actually choose not to vote for you? Are they going against the union rules and regulations? These are things that are being thrown up on the ground. So what is the meaning of these endorsements?
Well, first let me say again that I'm running as an independent candidate. I'm not backed by any political party, neither have I sought the backing of any political party. As a candidate, I must, of course, welcome endorsement from anyone or from any organization which supports my candidacy. And I'm grateful and I appreciate all the endorsements which various groups have given me. And I'm happy that they support me.
Any comments from any other panels? No? Or questions? We can have a few more questions, maybe 2 more questions from people who haven't asked a question yet. Yes, Honey.
Hi, thank you very much. My name is Sunny, adjunct lecturer. I've actually just returned from Europe, and recently we had a conference in Berlin as well as at the European Commission. And currently in Europe, there is this strong lobby requesting that there's 30% of women to enter into parliament. So, and in decision-making roles, because, you know, over here, based on the last GE, there is no female, you know, ministers at all. And there are also other delegates from Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Mongolia, Korea, and all that. And each of these countries, I feel, you know, as one of the other delegate, that they have like precedent, like Aquino, you know, they have, you know, Indonesian had women president, and now Thailand. And if you are, say, elected president, what would you actually do to actually encourage women to perhaps enter into politics or take, you know, higher decision-making role? Thank you.
Anybody want to go first? You need more time to think since you're men.
Yes, okay.
We'll have
I would like to hear the views of women on what you think should be done.
Dr. Tan.
Well, I think as...
Beware, your wife is here.
I know. I can't remember who said it, but I think it's a very wise saying that women hold up half the sky, right? Sorry? Mao Zedong. I'm not a Marxist. But I think that's very true. And women should play a full role in Singapore society at all levels.
Okay.
Well, the same thing. I mean, if they feel that they have been handicapped, then remove the handicaps. I am sure that, you know, we interact with women and they know, they have valuable views as well. So no one is I don't think there's anything that prevents women from coming forward. It's just a certain social handicaps or whatever. If this stand in your way, let us know. Let the president know. I think if there's any cause that we can champion, why not, to remove the handicaps.
Thank you.
Actually, I do encourage women to come out into the political arena. But of course, as a president, I cannot do all that for you. But really, women should come out. I must say that Singapore women have done a very good job. You all are in a very sizable proportion of our workforce, and also at the management level. And if you look at some of our very top people, they are all in Singapore. Some of the top CEOs are women. So I wouldn't say that the women in Singapore are not so forceful. Maybe we are referring to the political arena. Well, I think that's a difficult area for women in Singapore because the commitment is really very heavy. So you got to get the permission of your husband.
Whoa. Whoa. Okay.
Can I just
yes,
add
yes,
one
please.
more point?
Yeah.
Yes. I am fully confident that one day we will have a female prime minister or a female president. It will come.
Good, good. I agree.
Okay. Let me see if there's anyone from this side. Yes, yes. Sir. I'll come back to you.
My name is Hamza, retired soldier. I just want to understand from each of the four candidates. We are moving into uncharted waters. Having this elected presidential race is also a watershed, if you want to look at it. So do you see this presidency evolving in its capacity in what perhaps one day you'll be doing more than what we are already having today? Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Tan, you want to start first?
The answer is yes. Singapore is a work in progress. The presidency will develop in accordance with the needs of the time. I'm sure this will be done. I'm sure the Parliament will discuss this at the appropriate time. And the nature of the president, the powers of the president, the working of the president will change as society and the world changes.
Thank you. You see?
Well, I agree with the remarks by Dr. Tony Tan. It cannot be stagnant. It will change. I'm very glad that there's interest in this presidential election. It has been dormant, you know, but suddenly people realize that it is not as powerless as it was perceived to be in the past. It has got certain real powers that can be used to achieve certain ends for the good of the people. And I'm glad that it's realizing, and this debate is going on. Whatever the law minister says, we have a different view too. And let the debate evolve, and let the institution change with it.
No, I think it's evolving, and I don't think it's static. You can see all this discussion will show you that there are high expectations of the office of the president, and I don't think it will remain like this.
I accept the Constitution as it now is, with its limitations and its contradictions. But I think for the future of Singapore, we must have some clarity. What do we really want the president to do? We cannot have a president that is elected and then to trim his powers by so many other overlapping provisions. Let's be quite honest. Let's relook at this and let's see what will benefit Singapore ahead, whether it's through a powerful president or through a ceremonial president. But neither here nor there, it's not that good.
Thank you. Okay, last question, and then we'll wrap.
I have a comment and a question. Nicole Tan, AWARE, Association of Women for Action and Research. My comment is that not only are we not seeing women in politics, we are also not seeing women enough women in board positions. I think the current statistics now is that in the listed companies in Singapore, only 7% of them have board members who are women. I think that's deplorable. The Code of Corporate Governance recently what they have suggested certain changes to it, and one of the changes is that the board should be diverse. Current Code of Corporate Governance require that the board should have 1/3 of independent directors. I think maybe it's time for us to think about quotas. I believe in a European country, they indicated that they made it law that for a board of a listed company, at least 40% of the board should be from either gender. So quickly, and very quickly, you see that the board composition changed to be more gender neutral. So it's something that we could think about and we should do. And I hope it is in my lifetime that we see a female president or female prime minister. I know it will eventually come, but I hope that it will be in my lifetime.
Are you seeking a quick response?
No, that was a comment. That was a comment.
Right. Sorry, or you have a question?
Yes, I do have a question. As an elected president, you will have the second key to the reserve. Presumably, therefore, you would also be interested in having robust debates or confidential discussions on budgets. My question to each of you would be, what are your views of the baby bonus? First, is it still necessary? And second, has it been effective?
Okay. Mr. Duncan, yeah?
I have been against the baby bonus ever since it was introduced. I would prefer a more fairer incentive for all parents for the cost of taking care of their children. And the baby bonus is unfair in that some people get it and some people don't, depending on when they were born and also depending on their tax bracket and so on. I find all these schemes to be very complicated and I hope to see something simpler available to all. My preference is actually adequate tax relief for all children, regardless of when they were born, who their parents are. I would also be in favor of allowance towards the upkeep of children. So the baby bonus itself, the way it's done, I've been against it for the last 20 over years.
First, I must say that there will definitely be one day a woman becoming a prime minister or a president. You shouldn't worry that there's no hope for the ladies in Singapore to achieve such high office. Why I say that? Because I noticed that I've come across many women now in very high positions, and I really feel that some of them are much better than us. In fact, some of our directors are very good. They're women directors on our board, and I tell you, they are very, very good. So you don't be discouraged.
Baby bonus.
Oh, baby bonus. I think it's just one of those government attempts to get women to see whether they can have more babies. But at the end of the day, I think we have to build that family culture in us. Money can never induce people to do many things. Let us get people to understand the value of family. Because once the value of family is instilled in us, I think naturally you're going to have babies. Money can never get you to produce babies.
Thank you.
I agree, money is not the solution as such to more babies. We need a more comprehensive approach to this thing. Why do women not have children? I mean, it's putting off careers, putting off whatever. So we have to look at comprehensive, how to make it possible for women not to feel so stressed up, not to have a ceiling. And I'm in favor of, let's say, that it's the total. You need a holistic approach, cost of housing, for example, that they do not, maybe we have a policy, we work towards where women can spend their time being housewives. I would like to go back to the days when women can afford to become housewives, and you can afford to only have not a dual income family. I know some, but it's not what I have in mind. I'm not discriminating against women working. It's just that women would like to have the choice of not working, because after a certain stage of life, they want to really look after their family. Look after their family. And the present circumstances do not allow such choice because of cost.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Tan.
I am a great supporter of babies. I think they're wonderful for the family, and I think that we need more of them here. My approach to this thing is try everything. Baby bonus, more childcare, enable women to take time off their babies and go back to work without losing seniority or their jobs, as is done in some Nordic countries. Make it possible for our women to have their babies continue with their careers. If the scheme is not working well, like the baby bonus, tweak it, change it, but try. And ask your friends to try.
May I have a follow-up question to Dr. Tony Tan? We have been adopting that method for the last 25 years, and it's going downhill and downhill.
I think that's
okay.
I just have a very short comment.
Very short.
In all this comment, no one has ever factored in the role of the man in this family. So that's just the comment I want to make.
I think it's a sobering comment. As a man who has to go back to his wife, has to say at this point in time, we are about to wrap, and I would like to wrap by asking each of the 4 candidates to say in no more than 30 seconds, since brevity is the soul of wit, right? To say in no more than 30 seconds something they have not said before, because we have been hearing quite a few repeated things, but something you have not said before that you think is going to be a linchpin argument that will persuade people to see you as the candidate. Okay? No, it's got to come naturally now, because you have been thinking about this, I hope, long enough, right? So I'd like to now start 30 seconds, no more, because I'm going to stop it. Okay, 30 seconds. It has to be from the heart, something you've not said before, something you believe is going to persuade people to see you as the candidate. So let's start with Mr. Tan Kin Lian.
Now, when you go to the election, choose a president who is neutral and non-partisan, who looks at problem not from one party or another, but the problem of the people, and look for solutions in a way that is non-partisan.
Thank you. Dr. Tan.
The president has to exercise a number of roles. He has to be the head of state to represent Singapore domestically as well as internationally. He has custodial responsibilities with regard to the reserves. He has also been able to address social concerns. I hope Singaporeans will take this all into consideration and choose a candidate which they feel is best suited to fulfill that role.
Thank you.
Well, really, you must not be confused by what has been said around you. Look at what the overriding objective is when the Constitution was changed, and that is to get somebody to provide checks and balances on the government. And who is that somebody who can provide the checks and balance? Is it a meek president or someone strong who can stand up to the government of the day? And you must know that this government, this PAP government, is a strong government. It has got a very formidable machinery, and you cannot expect someone meek to stand up to this government. You must have someone strong, passionate, and can stand up to this government.
Thank you. Dr. Tang Chimbo.
I just want to be myself. I just want people to know that what I stood for in the past, I will carry it when I go to become the president. And what I've stood for in the past is that I will tell, if something is wrong, I'll tell you.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'd like to ask you to join me in giving all 4 candidates a big round of applause. And on behalf of the organizers, the online citizen, and all those of us who have participated today, I'd like to thank you for taking time off your exceptionally busy schedule to be here with us, and wish you all the best, all 4 of you, on the 27th.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.